Me, 34, male wife, 33 female, sat on the lap of another man, 40 male. My wife of over 6 years, been together longer, just not married, sat on the lap of another man this past Sunday during a Super Bowl party we threw at our house. This man that I mentioned is actually a good friend of ours. He's no stranger. We've all known each other for many years due to him being the boyfriend of one of my wife's best friends, who was also present at the party. Now, to play out the situation, what happened was, we were all sitting outside watching the game when along comes my wife, who is fairly intoxicated at this point, and starts shooting the shit with us. She then, without any reason, proceeds to sit on the lap of our friend. It wasn't sexual by any means, but there were other seats available, so I was confused as to WTF was going on. Even without there being seats, I obviously would have had the same reaction. I couldn't tell you how long time went by, but I audibly told her to sit down on the bench that was open next to him and asked what she was doing. I didn't make a thing of it, so nothing sparked out of the situation at that moment. That was until later that night when I confronted them both as he was leaving. I brought up to her in front of him how I thought that was very inappropriate, and as a married woman, she shouldn't have done that. They both apologized and stated it's nothing like that, which I believe. I know it would never come down to it between them two like that. But the issue I had was just the inappropriate nature of it and how it makes me look as a husband and her a wife. Now here's when things kind of take a turn. My wife then begins to twist the situation around and start saying how it's actually not that big of a deal, and I'm just being insecure and more or less a little bitch. At this point, things turned up and we got into it. She refused to acknowledge how I felt and claimed it didn't seem as bad as I made it, and how she wouldn't care if her friend sat on my lap or how her friend didn't mind it. I repeatedly told her I would never allow that, cause I'm a married man, and that I couldn't care less if her friend didn't mind such behavior. We went to bed with not much resolved. We spoke the following morning, and she agreed that it was wrong and apologized again. Now, here's the reason why I decided to bring this up here on the subreddit, which I wasn't planning to. We mildly spoke about it today, and she brought up how she finally got around to speaking to her friend, whose boyfriend lap she sat on, and apologized to her. She said how her friend said it was no big deal, and they know it was never meant to be sexual. She then proceeded to tell me how I got her all flustered and made her think she should have apologized to her friend like she did something wrong. At this point, I just sat there and stared at her briefly, thinking to myself, am I going crazy here? Am I truly the only one who doesn't see this as a problem? I let it go at that point, but I just can't shake off how I'm still feeling about it. I cannot be the only one who deems this inappropriate, right? Okay. Y'all leave a comment below about that situation, and let's check out the next story. I, 32, male found out. My long-term girlfriend, 30 female, was cheating through her texts. I never thought I'd be in a situation like this. I guess no one does. You don't go into a relationship expecting betrayal. But there I was staring at my phone, knowing my life was about to change in a way I never saw coming. Sarah and I had been together for 6 years. We weren't just dating. We lived together, had a joint savings account, and were planning a future. Marriage was something we had talked about casually, never with a set date, but we both knew we were headed in that direction. Or at least, I thought we were. She worked in marketing, a demanding job that often required her to attend work events, networking functions, and conferences. I trusted her completely. She was always independent and had her friends, and I never wanted to be the kind of guy who checked in too much. Maybe I should have. The signs were small at first, her phone suddenly getting more privacy settings, more nights out with work friends, a little more distance between us. I chalked it up to stress. I even asked her about it, and she told me I was overthinking and that I needed to relax. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Then, one evening, my friend Josh sent me a message. Hey man, I don't know if I should be saying this, but I saw Sarah last night. She was with some guy. They were close. Too close. He sent a picture. It wasn't anything explicit, just Sarah leaning into a guy at a bar, laughing, her hand resting on his thigh. Maybe not damning evidence, but not nothing. I felt sick. I told myself there had to be an explanation. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I needed to see for myself. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone while she was in the shower. I hated myself for it, but I needed the truth, and I found it. Messages, flirty ones, hidden under a different name in her contacts. Meeting up, sneaking around. She had been sleeping with him for at least 3 months. 3 months of my life where I thought things were just stressful, where I thought we were fine. I didn't confront her immediately. I couldn't. I needed time to process. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I told her we needed to talk. I sat her down, showed her the messages, and asked her to explain. She froze. I could see her mind working, scrambling for a way out. Then the excuses started. It wasn't serious. I never meant to hurt you. I was confused. Then came the guilt trip. You've been so distant lately. I thought maybe you weren't in love with me anymore. I just sat there, listening to her try to rewrite history, trying to make me the reason she did this. I didn't yell. I didn't lose my temper. I just told her to pack a bag and leave. She cried, tried to touch my arm, and begged me not to make any rash decisions. But I had already made up my mind. She moved in with a friend. A few weeks later, I started sorting out the logistics, our finances, and our apartment lease. She tried to reach out, tried to meet up to talk things through. I refused. There was nothing left to say. I wasn't going to waste my time demanding apologies or trying to understand something I could never make sense of. She made her choice. I made mine. Now, months later, I'm still adjusting to the silence of living alone again, to the shift from we to me. Some days I miss her, not who she was at the end, but the person I thought she was before. But I know better now. Update. I figured some closure might be useful for others going through something similar. Sarah has tried to reach out more times than I can count. At first, it was desperate apologies, then long-winded explanations, then attempts at nostalgia, sending pictures of old trips, trying to remind me of the good times. We ran into each other completely by accident, at all places, the grocery store. I was in the frozen food aisle, just grabbing some basics, when I heard someone call my name. I turned around and she was standing there awkwardly, holding a basket full of items. She looked nervous and hesitant, like she wasn't sure if she should say anything. I gave her a small nod, acknowledging her presence, but said nothing. She took that as an invitation to talk. "Hey, how have you been?" she asked, her voice softer than I remembered. It was the truth. I had been focusing on myself, hitting the gym more, reconnecting with old friends, and finally picking up some hobbies I had neglected. I wasn't bitter anymore, she sighed, shifting on her feet. I just looked at her for a second, then replied. That was the end of it. She didn't try to follow me, didn't plead or make a scene. She just stood there as I turned away and walked to the checkout line. That moment made me realize the sight of her didn't stir up any emotions. No anger, no sadness, no nostalgia, just indifference. And that, more than anything, felt like the biggest win of all. Update 2. A lot of people told me I was lucky to have found out before marriage or kids, and I completely agree. It could have been so much worse. For those wondering if she went back to the guy she cheated with, I don't know, and I don't care. Her choices are no longer my concern. Someone asked if I'll ever be able to trust again. Honestly, I don't know. Right now, I'm just enjoying the peace of being single and focusing on my own life. Maybe one day, but I'm in no rush. For everyone who reached out with support, thank you. It means more than I can say. Okay, here's the last story. I just caught my wife of 18 years. I got a friend request on Facebook from a woman I didn't know. We had some of the same friends, so I accepted it. Come to find out, she caught my wife and her husband in her bed together. She had her daughter in her arms when this happened. She knows my wife and thought they were friends. I dropped my wife off at another friend's house so they could go to the expo all weekend together. Come to find out, her friend was already there, and this dude's truck was parked on the street. When I left, I started getting the messages, so I went back and the truck was gone and his wife said it was his. We have 2 kids together, and she has been using our daughter as an excuse for months to go to this other friend's house who was covering for her, while my daughter would stay overnight with her daughter. I guess he also comes over to her friend's house when my daughter and wife are there. I'm finding all this out today after I drop her off. I try to call my wife, but no answer, so I text her that she is caught and she denies it. I finally got her to admit it after a few hours of back and forth text. I'm hurt, but feel glad that I know, so I don't have to deal with an unfaithful wife. She doesn't work, but I do, and work a lot, so we can afford to live. I got a bonus last week for $8,000, and it's all gone with my paycheck from today as well. She shocked me and our family in a bad way. She not only wrecked the other family, but ours too. I've never cheated and don't understand why she did. Now, I think how many times she has done this over the years. It just ended like that. Things like this can leave us shocked and numb sometimes. Thank you very much for listening or watching. It helps to support this channel either way. We greatly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe to further support and not miss another story. Until next time, have a great day or night.